Welcome to Beyond Overeating by Wholesome Lifestyle Project, the Overeating podcast, where I'll be showing up weekly to share with you what I've learned during my binge eating recovery, helpful tools such as yoga, mindfulness, and energy medicine. My name is Stel, and my purpose is to inform and educate so that you can fast track your recovery in healing your relationship with food and finally trust yourself around the peanut butter jar. Join me as I share top tips, my struggles and triumphs to help inspire or just entertain. Remember, there's nothing wrong with you if you can't stop overeating. That's why I'm here to guide you along the way. Welcome back to another episode of the Beyond Overeating podcast by Wholesome Lifestyle Project. My name is Stel Coombe-Heath, binge and emotional eating recovery specialist, and I'm on a mission to help women end the war against food and their bodies. And today I have such a beautiful guest with me who's gonna help just shed some light on body confidence and body positivity. Welcome, April Courville.
Thank you for having me.
April and I met a few months ago, and what she does is just absolutely fascinating. And I really felt that her work and just the stories she shared with me in our initial chat just had so much meaning towards, creating a better relationship with our bodies and, just improving our body image. April is a boudoir photographer, and she's been doing this since 2011. And she started her career in Minneapolis, and now she's located in Lafayette, LA. And her work has been featured in local publications such as the Times of Arcadia, The Current, Developing Lafayette, and Out to Lunch and Boudoir International. That's amazing. So welcome, April, and I'm so excited for you to share just your experience with how you work with women and also just what you see behind the camera in your boudoir photography.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Did you want to just tell us a little bit more about you? And we know that you're from LA, but did you just want to tell us a little bit more where you've come from? And yeah,
sure. So to kind of differentiate a little bit, so LA is typically people refer to LA as Los Angeles. So I'm actually from Louisiana, which is our it's the state code for the system in the United States. So two very different places.
Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go.
So I was born and raised in a small town in the South. Got undergraduate degree in fine art photography, and did, I worked for a portrait photographer for several years. I did weddings. I managed a portrait studio in the mall. I second shot. I did families and seniors and events and headshots and kind of the whole thing. And at the time, after college, I moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota, which, if you're not familiar with the United States, is clear across the country. Basically, Louisiana is a coastal state in the South, and Minnesota borders Canada. So very different culture and style of living.
I'm sure.
And, whenever I was working with, young children and weddings and families, there wasn't really a whole lot that I was connecting with, and I was trying to kind of find my place in the photography industry. And I was kind of struggling with it a little bit. And I had a client who was like an engagement client, and she was very old school style, lots of vintage clothes. She really liked old, like vintage suitcases and hat boxes and kind of rockabilly style. And her engagement shoot was really fun. We went to this kind of revamped drive-in, drive-in, like an old burger joint. That had been revamped. So it was very colorful. And we kind of used that as a backdrop. And that was a lot of fun. And she really liked the way the photos came out. And about a year later, she reached back out to me and she's like, hey, I just repainted my dressing room and it's completely, decorated, very pinup style. Can we do like a pinup themed shoot in it? And, I had never done that before. It was totally out of my comfort zone. But I thought, okay, yeah, why not? That sounds fun. Cool. I like playing dress up and, I like shoes and things like that too. So we did it and it was a ton of fun. I had no idea what I was doing. But it was a blast and it was probably the most fun I'd ever had at a photo shoot. And a couple of weeks later, I was reading an article in an industry magazine and they were talking about boudoir and how it wasn't taboo anymore and it was becoming more mainstream and acceptable. And I thought to myself, wait, that's what I just did with this client. And there's a name for it and people do it and they just do that. And that for me, that was really a game changer. And so that's kind of where it was born. And I kind of stumbled upon it, I guess, by accident. But once I found it, I was in it.
Amazing. And I think, it's amazing when we kind of find our groove in what we do. And, I think from your side perspective, you probably get to see so many different women in different walks of life. And just it must be so interesting just to be able to hold that space for them in a kind of an intimate way.
Yeah, we get to hear a lot of stories for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So what kind of clients do you normally work with?
Well, we work predominantly with women or people that identify as women. We don't do a ton of couples. And I think that, and, clearly we only work with people that are over the age of 18. I would say that my biggest demographic is probably from the ages of about 35 to 55. So common misconception that only young, fit, skinny, little pretty girls do boudoir. It's actually not. It's women who are, kind of, have already had children. Some of them have grandchildren, they're raising a family. And they're kind of to the point where they're like, maybe they want to spice up their marriage, or maybe they want to just feel like a woman again and not so much like a mom or a wife or an employee. They have the mom body and they kind of want to come to terms with it and want to make peace with it. Women, there's a lot of milestones that these women have gone through or are going through, and they're using boudoir kind of as a way to sort of see them through it or to celebrate. So, and sometimes it's not always positive. Some women are coming out of bad relationships, or maybe they're getting divorced, or, maybe they've just beat cancer. So either way, they always come with this really great story, of why they're doing it. And I think that that's kind of the most interesting and fulfilling part of my job.
Yeah, absolutely. I can just imagine every person has a different reason. For me, I actually always just assume that's the only time you do this before you get married. And then when I kind of did a bit of research for this interview, I'm like, okay, no, people do this all the time. You don't need an occasion. You could just celebrate. And your first client, she just redid her bedroom and she wanted just something different. That's really, really cool. And I think it's something that more of us, about 3-4 years ago, before I started my business, I would shy away from the camera, let alone speak on video,
Right.
let
Yeah.
alone show my body, on social media, like that would never have happened. So I know how long it's taken me to just get to that point. So what would you say is one of the biggest hurdles that you come across when you start working with engaging with someone who wants to potentially have these photos taken?
Well, the biggest pushback that we get is, I need to lose 10 more pounds. And I with that, my response is typically, okay, what then? Because as women, I find that, we always say, okay, I need to lose, I want to lose 5 pounds. I want to lose 10 pounds. But then if we do it, then we find something else that we want to pick on. We're never happy with the way that our body is or the way that we look. And so my answer is, okay, so let's just say that you lose those 10 pounds. Like, can you really honestly say that you're going to be completely happy with yourself? And a lot of them are like, you're right. No, probably not. And I'm like, no, the whole point of boudoir is just to accept yourself the way you are now. Don't try to be a fantasized version of yourself, The other hang up is, investment. Boudoir is a luxury experience. And, if you kind of go on the cheap and hire someone that doesn't charge a whole lot, they may not know what they're doing. And it's kind of like going to a tattoo artist, right? Like you can go to a cheap tattoo artist, but you're probably going to be devastated with the results. And I think that it's not necessarily a socioeconomic thing. I think that it is because women, we'll drop $500 on our kids any day, but to spend it on ourselves is a lot more difficult to do. Yeah. And so at that point I say, well, you want to do this for yourself, or, you want to do this for your marriage, or, you're looking to change some sort of way and kind of alter your mental thought process.
Yeah.
So I had a client that equated it to therapy. She was like, I've spent thousands of dollars on therapy, and like for the same amount of money, I, can do the same thing but still have like these amazing photos to show for it. Yeah. So I would say that those are probably the two biggest hangups. They don't feel like, they feel guilty about kind of investing in themselves. And then they also, are not satisfied with like how they look. They think that they need to like fit this certain image before they can actually do it, which is totally not true.
Yep. And to be honest, that's how we live our lives as women, isn't it? It's, if I do X, or if I achieve X, then I will be happy. Then I will do that. Then I will, feel confident, or then I will start investing in my health. And the thing is, life is unpredictable. There's always going to be something, like when you've lost those 10 pounds, or once you've achieved a certain size, there's going to be something else that's going to stop you from moving. So we always procrastinate and have these conditions. And, in yoga, I'm a yoga teacher and I talk about that a lot, but we always talk about, savoring the present, because in the present is the only time where you have control over. And this is the time where you actually get to experience your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. And, if you're not feeling confident about yourself, just being in acceptance of, this is where I am. And to be honest with you, I'm guessing most of these women, when they are in their 90s, they're going to look back at these photos of themselves and go, oh my gosh, I was such a hottie.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think we're just so hard on ourselves in society, and we just feel we need to be perfect in our appearance, and we just put so much weight on that instead of just living in the moment.
Right. And I think that, you said the thing about, being in your 90s. Some of my older clients, and I mean older by, I've photographed them several years ago, older, have kind of said the same thing. Like, they're not in their 90s, but, 5 years ago was a different chapter in their life. And, they've said, I like to look back on those photos and see how I've changed. Some things don't look as great, but maybe other things look better, or maybe I'm taking better care of myself, or maybe I remember that this was happening in my life at that time and that has now improved, so it doesn't even, it's just kind of like um an almanac of your life, in a way. So yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it.
I would love to know, out of curiosity, what people do with some of these photos.
Well, a lot of women, they'll get an album, like a beautiful album, so that they can, have several photos, but it's still kind of private, So some women do get wall art to hang on their wall. And I think that that's amazing. But a lot of women kind of get books, and they'll, put them away, or maybe kind of discreetly put them on the shelf or whatever. But then, like, I've had a lot of women tell me if they're grumpy, or if they're bloated, or, just not feeling great, they pull it out and look at it, and it makes them feel a little bit better.
Oh, there we go. That's so beautiful. So I just did a bit of research before our episode, and a survey done in dosomething.org mentioned that approximately 91% of women are unhappy with their bodies, and 40% of them agreed that they would consider cosmetic surgery. And over 2/3 of women believe that their life would improve if they were just in a different weight, or their hips were different, thighs and waistlines. So from your experience, why do you think women feel so attached to appearance and body size?
I feel like we could do a whole episode on that. I think it's a combination of things. I definitely think that part of it is cultural, because, I live in South Louisiana. There's a very large African-American community here. And so I have a lot of clients that are women of color, and I love to kind of compare this. So when I photograph, they get hung up on different things that my white clients get hung up on. And like, if I have someone who's of Asian descent, they get hung up on different things than everybody else. So I definitely think that there is a cultural aspect, kind of depending on what your culture standard of beauty means. But I also think that, it's society and the marketplace. There's a huge amount of money to be made by companies telling us that we're not good enough. Yeah. And I do like some of the advertisers now are starting to realize that they've caused lots of problems over the years and are kind of becoming more body inclusive, to sort of move away from that. And I think that that's helping for sure. And I'm glad that it's moving in that direction. But, I'm sure you agree with me. It's way too late, too little, too soon. And it's been, a really slow process. So I think that it's, kind of a combination of all of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like, recently I heard that Victoria's Secret has, added some extra sizes to include more of the population and just be more
They've
diverse.
done away with the angels and
yeah. So I think that, like you say, it's a little too late, but at least they're starting to do that. And I know, like, social media sites like Pinterest has recently banned weight loss advertising, which is a good start. We'd love to see that like boiling into other social media sites, but also billboards, magazines. I mean, we can blame social media, but I have body issues and I didn't grow up with social media. I grew up with walking into a shopping center, or the checkout center, and the magazines at eye level for children praising so and so who's lost weight. And the cover would always say, "I'm so much more confident," or "I'm so much happier." Right. So that's what we believe.
Yeah. I grew up in the Glamour magazine, the Cosmopolitan,
Well, that's the thing. I started reading those magazines, and I started smoking as a teenager at the age of, I think, 12, 13, because I read in a magazine that smoking, helps you lose weight or speeds up your metabolism.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Wow.
So, and I think that's the thing. It starts with just a message from all of us, how we, speak about ourselves, how we speak about other people's bodies. It's more just about acceptance in general. And hopefully we have started something, and hopefully it lasts.
Yeah, I think so.
So, over the years, you have learned that size and weight doesn't really equate to confidence or body positivity. So where does confidence come from then, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, yourself, because and this can apply to anything that you can be confident in, right? Like, confidence doesn't just come about your appearance. It comes with, how you feel at your job, or how you feel at playing an instrument, or trying something new, speaking a new language. Confidence plays a huge role in our everyday life. And if you are telling yourself these limiting beliefs and these lies, then it's going to mess with your confidence. And I think that being mindful of those thoughts and that narrative that you're telling yourself is kind of the first place to at least realize, okay, this is what I'm telling myself. And I would never say these things to like my best friend. So why am I saying them to myself? I think the other thing too is it's just having a good support network. If you don't have a supportive partner, or if you have friends that can be really catty, or, if you have a toxic work environment, I mean, there's a lot of, we don't live in bubbles. So, I think that there's a lot of things that have an impact, but it definitely starts with that narrative that we tell ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And mostly what I've seen through my own experience, and also with most of my clients, is the confidence was already an issue before you initially put on weight, or before you felt unhappiness with the body. And sometimes we pick on things that we can see, and that's our flaws. And then we're like, oh, well, it's because I have these hips that I'm not confident, or it's because I now have, wrinkles when I smile that I'm not confident. Meanwhile, it's not about that. It's really about, how we feel in the inside about ourselves. So I love that answer. So you get to see where women basically bear it all, and I put that in like sort of inverted commas. And I'm guessing a lot of them will probably feel quite, not intimidated, but maybe just a little bit shy in the beginning of your session. So how do you help them find confidence?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty common for, most clients show up and they say, I'm excited, but I'm nervous. and that's totally normal. I mean, a lot of women have never done this before. Yeah. And so, and I think that a lot of my clients, the one thing that whenever they talk about their experience after the fact, a lot of what they say that is the common theme is that we made them feel really comfortable. Okay. And I think that, I have an all-female team. We've been working together for a while. We all kind of know what the client needs to hear. And, so we have a really good cheerleading squad. But it's also like, we try to make it a judgment-free zone. We had a client who brought some outfits, and when she put her first one on, she saw her reflection in the mirror and burst into tears. And we were like, whoa, like, girl, it's okay. We just need to adjust your straps a little bit and like lower your stockings. Like it's no big deal. Like we're just gonna make some small adjustments, and posing and lighting and, your outfit adjustments are going to make a world of difference. Like it's going to be okay. Like everything is fine. I really also kind of over communicate with them. So before they even come into the studio, they have already gotten a whole list of what to wear, where to shop, how to prep, what to do, what not to do, all that stuff. But just like in the beginning of the session, we usually do hair and makeup. So they get a makeover before they even get in front of the camera. And that definitely helps. Yes. Because usually when they see themselves fully made up, they're like, dang, okay, this is not going to be terrible. But, before we start shooting, we do some stretches, and I kind of give them sort of an overview of what the shoot is going to go like. I'm like, all right, anytime you do something that's out of your comfort zone, you kind of second guess yourself and you're like, am I doing this right? Like, oh my God. I'm like, we are looking out for all those things. Just give yourself some positive self-talk and think, I look amazing. I feel amazing. My partner is going to love this. And usually that kind of helps them sort of at least get into a good mindset before we start the session.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing. And how do they normally feel when they walk out of the session?
They usually say, wow, that was not nearly as scary as I thought it was going to be. That was actually pretty fun. So, they're like, okay, that was it. Like, wow, that wasn't that hard. Like, of course it wasn't that hard. You have way more potential than you think you do, So yeah, it's usually fun to get their reaction after they're done.
I'm sure. And can you tell us a particular body confidence or body image transformation story that you experienced through one of your shoots?
I have an amazing story, and it's not necessarily about specifically body image, but how she felt as a woman in general. And I always tear up when I tell a story because it's just like so. I had a client who had just overcome breast cancer, and she had not had her full reconstructive surgery yet. And she was a doll. Like, she was completely amazing to work with and really fun and sweet. And her pictures came out great. She looked beautiful. But after she got her products, she sent me a text, and it said something along the lines of, when you get diagnosed with something like cancer, and she had fought it several times. Like this, she didn't just have it once beaten and then she was done. Like it had come back. And she said, when you get diagnosed with something like cancer, you feel broken. And when you lose a part of your anatomy that identifies you as female, you start to feel like a broken, less of a woman. She was like, I felt for so long like I wasn't whole anymore. And I had equated my breasts with part of what was beautiful about me. And so to lose them was devastating. And she did her session before she had the reconstructive surgery. And she said, this photo shoot made me realize that I'm beautiful with or without them. And I'm not broken. And you made me feel like a little bit more of a female again. Like I'm a little bit more of a woman like I used to be. And so she thanked me, and I was like,
oh my goodness. Yeah, my gosh.
yeah.
Wow.
So that was pretty impactful. And sometimes we get some really, deep stories like that. And I'm constantly reminded that, like, yeah, you're running a business. And sometimes, clients come in and they just want to have fun and it's no big deal. But sometimes you get some clients like her, and I am reminded that, like, hey, like, you're actually making a difference in people's lives. And that was kind of what got me started in this whole thing to begin with. So it's a nice reminder.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that is such a great thing. Like, if you can make someone feel comfortable when they, mostly just wearing something very intimate, then definitely you are making a difference in their life for sure, and it probably will spill over into their relationships and how they feel at work. And like you say, they go back to those photos when they have a down day or they feel like, down about their bodies. They go back and they go, look at that. And it's really beautiful.
And it's spilling over. You reminded me of a great example. I had a client who she told me that when we did the session, she was seeing this guy and he was like not that great to her. But her confidence was low. And so she was like, well, she just kind of stayed with him. And she was like, after she did the session, she dumped him because her confidence was higher. And she was like, I don't deserve this dude. Like, this dude is like, he's terrible. Like, I need somebody way better. And she's like, I've since started dating this new guy. He is so sweet and so different from the other guy. And before the session, I would have never had the confidence to think that I deserve somebody like that. Oh my gosh. So it kind of, it can really kind of domino in a great way.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. It's just amazing when we can kind of, it's not like we do the work, but like it's helping them find their way in finding that's just a little bit of confidence in taking that little step or just being more themselves, which is so rewarding.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I know you have a dinner party to go to, so I don't want to keep you too much longer.
It's not a party by any means.
There's a glass of wine waiting for you.
There's a glass of wine, but it's Louisiana. We kind of drink at all hours of the day over here, so it's not a big deal.
You mentioned you had a gift for the members tuning in today.
Right. So I think the tiny URL at your Wholesome Life. I think it's in an email, but you can it is it's our wardrobe guide. And so this is basically, you can definitely use it like if you want to do your own photo shoot at home, or if you just want to look better in lingerie for your partner, or if you just want to look better in lingerie while standing in the mirror. This is kind of my guide in terms of like what types of lingerie to look for, what colors are flattering, what kind of bras to get, what kind of bottoms to get. If you have hangups about your midsection, these are the types of pieces that you should look for, stuff like that. So yeah, that's our wardrobe guide. It's really popular among our clients.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm sure everyone will appreciate that. And I always ask my guests to share just one way in which they appreciate their bodies.
Well, I think that whenever you you kind of take health for granted until you get really ill. And then if you, overcome that. So I have kind of had at least a 5-year, but probably more like a 10-year battle with endometriosis, and had surgeries and things like that. And so we're still kind of in the fighting process because it does come back. And so I've been experiencing some issues with it lately. And I'm just trying to do some holistic things to kind of keep it in check. And so I'm grateful that I do have my health, and that, my body, I am being kinder to it. And so it seems like in turn it is being kinder to me. So, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry you're having to go through all of that. I'm sure it's not an easy road for you.
Yeah, the fun things of being a woman, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And where can people find you, April?
So the website is adannetteboudoir.com, and that's ADANNETTE. And then we're on Instagram at adannettephoto, and Facebook is adannettphotography. And so we put a lot of sneak peeks up there, and share a lot of images and some kind of overall positive messages for women who do struggle with confidence and body image, and encouragement, because we do photograph real women. They're not models. They don't look a certain way. So if you want to see a beautiful woman who is a real woman with real curves, and kind of feel a little bit better, like, hey, look at her, she's out there, and you feel like you can relate to it, then our social places are a good place to find that.
Amazing. I might actually share some of that on my socials today.
Yeah, awesome.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us, April. This has been such an amazing conversation. So interesting finding out how you work, and just amazing stories that you've shared with us. So thank you so much for your time.
Yes, it was awesome.
Thank you everyone for listening, and I can't wait to be back here next week for another episode of the Beyond Overeating podcast by Wholesome Lifestyle Project. I'll put all the links of where to find April in the show notes, so make sure to just click on that at the bottom of this episode, and you can even watch this on video if you wanted to in the show notes. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me today, and don't forget to share this with all your friends. You can do this by adding this to your Instagram story and tagging me at Wholesome Lifestyle Project, or by simply telling them about it. If you could rate and review on whatever platform you are listening, this will go a long way in helping me get this podcast out there so that I can share my message and help as many women out there struggling with food issues as I can. Don't forget, you can follow me on Instagram on Wholesome Lifestyle Project or connect with me on LinkedIn. My name's Stel Coombe-Heath, and that's where you'll find me on LinkedIn. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.